I saw, whenever you see, I mean, you're probably like me when you're driving down the road and you see police lights, flashing red lights. It grabs your attention, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's supposed to.
I was only going 60.
Yeah. This was in the other lane. This was so I'm traveling eastbound, and this vehicle is traveling westbound. And I always pay attention. So I'm looking, and it was an unmarked car. It seemed like an unmarked car. It didn't say state police or town of Frankfurt or whatever police. And it was flying down Route 5S, and it had the red lights. So I'm like, maybe that's a fire chief. Could be a fire chief, right?
Right.
Because they're allowed to do the red lights. Only certain people can have the red lights. And my wife said it was a guy in a suit. The guy was in a suit driving. And it was kind of an odd-looking, it was like a sedan, but it was an odd-looking vehicle to be a police vehicle. And she said, and, I trust everything she says, that she thinks it might have been an organ donor transport. Because in the passenger seat, there was, I don't know how she could see this, but she apparently did. There was a cooler. It was actually a canister. She said she could see pretty clearly in the passenger seat. Does that make sense?
I'm not driving anywhere close to you guys because you could see what's going on in my car.
Yeah,
now I know
can.
Allison
Yes.
is watching.
Yeah,
what goes on in other people's cars.
You'd be amazed at the things we've seen going on in people's cars.
Oh, I've seen some really interesting things.
Anyway, does that sound like that makes sense? Because they're not all done with, right? You wouldn't use a helicopter probably if it was something that was local.
Right.
So I would think that maybe it was a local hospital that there was an organ donor and they were transmitting to a local hospital. So a local transport. That's an awesome job, I would think. Probably not the most exciting job in the world, but it really is the most exciting job in the world.
Saving lives.
And you're saving lives. You know that you're driving the organ that's going to save somebody. Pretty exciting. Speaking of saving somebody, what do you think about killing them? So there is another bill that's out there right now that has just cleared the assembly and probably won't make it. It was the assembly in committee. And probably won't make it through. It might make it through the assembly. Probably won't make it through the Senate. And that is what are they calling it? Death aid?
Assisted suicide?
Well, no, they don't want to call that.
Aid in dying.
Don't use that, Andrew.
Aid in dying.
What is wrong with you? That's such a negative term.
I guess so.
So they don't. What do they want it called?
Aid in dying.
They specifically do not want it called assisted suicide, which I found that kind of funny when I read the story. Aid in dying is what they'd like it to be called. And what do we think about that?
100% support.
Oh, you are.
I've always been, and I've always, this might sound strange, but when the HBO movie came out with Al Pacino and John Goodman, it was called "You Don't Know Jack," and it was kind of a biopic of Dr. Kevorkian. Mm-hmm. And I always, growing up, I was hearing about Dr. Kevorkian. I was like, this guy's really bad. But then I watched it, and then I read into his story a little bit, and I'm like, man, this guy, he was onto something. He had a process before he would help anybody out, So
other countries do it. You can go to European countries and have it done. Actually, I spoke with someone recently that said, if anything happens, I am going to book a really awesome first-class flight, and I'm going to, Switzerland or something. And they have a program there that's assisted death, and it's pleasant, and they do a whole wonderful thing with you, and that's it. And then I'm done, and I will not be a burden on anyone. People see it that way.
Well,
and not to mention a burden on themselves.
Well, yeah, look at it financially, too.
Yeah.
I mean, the medical bills that accrue over the time of the illness can be astronomical, and then after somebody passes away, it's not like those financial obligations go away.
But you're a Catholic boy.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you? This is clearly the reason we don't have it in this country is because religion is so strong in the United States as opposed to Europe.
I'll tell you, I was surprised at Andrew's response for that same reason, and I guess.
Because it's suicide, which is a
Well, the Catholic Church, I don't believe their policy on
there's
suicide
no way
is
they're
the same anymore.
Well,
they're not endorsing. I don't think they do it.
I'm not saying they're endorsing that, but I'm saying that in the past, it was said that you would, go to hell if you
We're gonna
took your own life.
Pope Francis at the bill signing when they signed the bill.
We're working on getting him on right now.
I'm kind of torn on this, I guess. And I would tell you that the way I was raised, being Catholic,
and really any Christian was raised the same way.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
You don't.
I
it's not
wanna
like we
speak up-
Methodists are like, hey,
I'm sorry.
because it's the same. It's a Christian belief that committing suicide in any form is bad, and you don't do it. But this assisted suicide, it is what it is. Christine?
I think this is one of those things where your opinion on it significantly is altered depending upon what your experience level is with this. Like, you may feel one way until you know someone who's in that situation.
Yeah.
And then, and I also don't know that people find a difference between saying, we pray for him just to pass quietly versus, watching them
you
suffer.
Can do that.
You're
can
allowed
do
to
that.
pray for somebody to pass, but you're not allowed to help them pass.
And, jack up the morphine just a little bit if you could. But then you have people that have gone to prison for assisting somebody.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think that should be the case. But anyway, these are big issues. The Assembly looking at it right now probably won't even get to the Senate. We'll see. And I thought this was an interesting story out of the Albany market. And this waitress was, and I'm trying to think about this because I bet you we've all left a percentage tip that was pretty high. But I'll explain in a second. But a customer at the breakfast spot in Cohoes on Friday morning left a tip, which was a 352% tip for the ticket, and it was a $77 tip on a $22 check with the following note: "Life is short. A friend of mine died last night. Please enjoy a night with someone you love." And that was kind of neat. $77 tip. So the waitress. This is the funny part, though. The waitress says that, yes, she is going to do that, or she's going to take some friends out for drinks. So I'm not sure that's
okay.
I'm not sure that's what it was intended, but you're still spending time with friends. Right?
Exactly.
A cocktail?
Exactly.
It is what it is.
And it's not I'm not saying that because they're having a drink or something. You go out with your friends, you have a good time. Whether you're eating popcorn or you're having a couple cocktails, you're having a good time, maybe making some memories. So
and did you see the replay of was it a Pirates pitcher? It was a Pirates pitcher, Ryan Vogelsong, gets hit in the head by a fastball. Did you see this? Colorado Rockies played the Pirates yesterday. Pittsburgh pitcher Ryan Vogelsong got nailed in the head by a pitch from Jordan Lyles. It was a 92-mile-per-hour fastball, and it hit him square in the head. They had to take him out of the game. Here are the announcers. Did you hear that sound?
Yeah, and he said right before, "Don't hit him."
Yeah.
It came up and in on Vogelsong.
Man, that is tough to see, tough to watch.
Ryan Vogelsong going to leave the field here, and I'm glad that he seems to be.
Yeah, they had to take him off on a cart. Really bad.
Man.
Hey, that ball is moving. And, it's funny because the other night I forgot which Mets pitcher was pitching. And they showed a picture of a scout, a video of a scout, and he's there, and he's got his little stopwatch out. So I'm like, I wonder how long it does take for the pitch to get out to be released from the pitcher's hand into the glove, and it's well under a second.
Yeah, it's like what, 0.3 or 0.5 of a second.
It's like 0.3 of a second. Between 3 and 10, obviously curveball is a little bit different, but between 3 and 0.5 of a second.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible. You do not have much time and you're looking at the shot right now. It's rough.
I saw it, and I actually thought it hit him in the helmet. That's what I thought that noise was. ESPN has a still image. Look at that. You can see his face contorting.
Yeah, it's bad.
From being struck by the ball. Oh, that's bad. ESPN's got that photo.
And here's a little karma for you. A guy in Florida swiped someone's car, drove away. This was a hit-and-run case. Swiped somebody's car, drove away, and then pulled behind a Toys R Us to check the damage. And his car rolled off the jack and killed him. He was actually jacking it up to look at the damage. He got underneath the car, and the car rolled off the jack, and this hit-and-run person, it's almost like you got to be thinking, that's what you get. I'm not sure that the crime was worth dying over, however. The woman who called 911, Lori Lawhorn, she and her family went to Toys R Us to pick something up that they purchased, and they noticed the guy's feet sticking out from underneath the car.
911, where is your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I'm over here behind the where you do the Toys R Us customer pickup, and I'm hoping what I think I'm seeing is not real, but this man is laying up under this car back here, and he's not moving. We're hollering for him, and he's not moving.
Okay, does it look like is the car on top of him, or what is going?
I don't know, honestly.
Okay, where?
It almost looks like the car is hit him.
Would you do, what would you do? Obviously, you call 911, but would you think that maybe, because you hear these stories about these people with superhuman strength, and the adrenaline takes over and they're able to lift a car, miraculously lifting a car off a person. I think I'd try at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel really bad about myself. And I tried, man. And then you lift it up just enough where it comes back down again, which probably wouldn't be necessarily good.
See, if I was calling out and he wasn't responding, because I'm not good with seeing, I've got a weak constitution sometimes when it comes to like blood and stuff. I don't think that I would go near it.
Okay, well, that's what this woman did. So, Christine with an update. 6:49. Christine Bellino. Good morning.
Good morning. A public forum on heroin and opioid addiction will be held at the state office building in Utica tomorrow. Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi sponsoring legislation requiring the Department of Transportation to publicly release their capital plans and project list. And a Rome man facing several charges for allegedly trying to break into a home after he threatened to kill the homeowner. We
have a free money question of the day. Andrew, let's take caller number 7 right now at 7360186. Call that number 7, your chance to win from the Habica Law Firm, $100, $200, or $300 in cash. And I still want to talk about this issue of the bill that the Senate, in the New York State Senate, is blocking. And that would be to extend the statute of limitations for children who have been molested while they were, as a child, obviously, a child molested. Currently, today, after the age of 23, the statute of limitations runs out. So the bill would have extended that to any point in the person's adult life. They would have 1 year to fight the case and to prove that they were molested. This has been, DeFrancisco is one that is that's really against this. This has been defeated by the Senate. What do you think? Is this really a vote against the victim and a vote for the abuser, for the pedophile? We'll talk about it when we come right back here. 7360186. Back in 2 minutes at WIBX.